Hello everybody, so here is Black Angel again, and I'm here with the video about mistypes. So I want to explain the reason why I never talk about mistypes, because I just realized, I received a message and that made me realize that I never touched the topic of mistypes. I used to in the past, but recently I stopped talking about it, and I don't make a lot of videos with that topic within. Meanwhile, I'm preparing boxes for Christmas to put presents in. Anyway, so mistypes. The reason why I never talk about mistypes is that I do not think that it's something that can be addressed so easily. So the point is this. So when we're talking about MBTI and we're talking about socionics and Enneagram, we're talking about a subject that is normally treated online as if it were astrology or something anyway that anyone can talk about and anyone can discuss and anyone can know, as if it were I don't know, something that you find on a magazine and everybody knows it, like, I don't know, gossip or stuff like that. That's how MBTI and Enneagram and such things are treated. And a lot of people listen to what people on forums have to say. They ask people on forums to type them and so on. Been there, done that. So I know what I'm talking about. I've been through that myself, and I know where people come from with that. So this means, a step back. Since MBTI is not that thing, because MBTI is actually accepted in psychology, and it takes a training to actually type people. It takes a long training and courses, and it's not something so easy. The tests that you take online are actually an adulterated version of a very much serious, a much more serious test that is actually official and that is presented by professionals. So what you're going to find on this test is not as clear as people may think. So a lot of the concepts that are contained within the questions are actually concepts that are part of social psychology. And other concepts are part of general psychology. Some things come from specific theories, like, for example, psychoanalysis, because we know that Carl Jung was in the field of psychoanalysis. And that's basically the problem, that we're talking about something that only professionals should use as a tool to understand people better and help them with their personal growth or with their issues and develop themselves. So yeah, what I'm trying to say here is that mistypes are basically 99.99999% of people out there. And that's because they haven't been actually typed by professionals. None of them have. Very few, actually. I know one person that is a professional, and I never met anyone that he personally typed on forums, to be entirely honest. So this is why I decided at some point that talking about mistypes was probably not a good idea, because the type that you choose for yourself, or the type that you believe to be, works for you, and that's okay. So that's why I don't talk about mistypes. So what I'm doing here is not telling you guys, oh, you're not that type, or oh, you shouldn't think you are that type because otherwise you're an evil person, or you're wrong about yourself, and so on. What I'm trying to do now, I'm not saying I didn't do that in the past, because I honestly don't remember. But what I'm trying to do right now is to give you the instruments to actually understand what the theory is about, how it works, and which type you can be closer to according to interpretations that do not come from the community, but rather from someone that is becoming a professional. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to deliver you the truth over the misinformation and the lack of information that you are receiving everywhere else on the net. So my reason not to talk about mistypes is that I honestly never met someone that was correctly typed. Or if I did, it was probably 1 or 2 people, and it was accidental, fully accidental. So yeah, that's another thing that I want to say, and I think it's important to stress this point, is that a lot of time type is not used to do what type is meant to do, but it's rather a means to insult others. So if I tell someone that girl there is an ESFJ, for example, that person is going to be ostracized, she's going to be excluded, she's going to be mistreated, she's going to be harassed, she's going to be told all the evil possible about her, when in fact she probably is a good person. And I'm honestly fully against that shit. That's typicism. It's a form of racism. So people are racist, and sometimes they are racist against types that they are. For example, the ISTP forum, the ISTP board on Facebook is full of ISTJs that are persuaded they are ISTPs. And it's really hilarious that they're all ISTJs, or a big chunk of them is ISTJs. So, yeah, I don't think it's a matter of pointing the finger against others. And it shouldn't be a matter of pointing the finger against others about typing. Because, in all truth, until you're okay with the type you're chosen, everything is fine. Because the goal of type is only to give you an idea of who you truly are. And most people do not look into that so in depth. Most people only want to know if they are a Virgo, if they are an ISTP, or if they are a Leo and an Enneagram 5. That's everything they want to know. And they don't really care what that label actually means. They only want to have a label. And they want to go around saying, I'm this label. And that's also why I don't accept posts on my channel or comments on my channel going like, oh, that's not true about that type because I. Because I is not valid. It's not an answer. Because you're one person versus 1,000 people or thousands of people that have been typed to get to the conclusion of that specific trait in that type. Not to speak of the fact that those who write that might actually be mistyped. And I don't know because I don't know them. And unlike others, I do not type people by a few sentences they write. I want to know the person a little bit more in depth before I tell them what type they are. Or actually, before I decide for myself what type they are. Because I recently decided not to spread this kind of information. I even closed my typing sessions. And I'm not going to type anyone anymore. The only reason why I might tell someone the type when they are coming to my sessions is that because it helps both of us understand and figure out what we're talking about and why we're talking those terms. So sometimes I even use types that the person is not to help them understand some concepts. For example, if someone comes to me for a session to have psychological help, and they're doing something that a specific trait of Enneagram 5 can explain, and they're probably an Enneagram 8, I'm going to use Enneagram 5 to tell them what they're doing and to help them understand that specific trait that they're displaying. But on a general basis, what I do is actually use other terms and not use MBTI other than for myself to figure out who I'm dealing with and what I should do to actually help that person. That's a conclusion I came to over time, that using MBTI to help people is something that only creates confusion, panic, difficulties, identity issues, and so on. So to actually come to a definite conclusion about a person's identity, I prefer not to give all the information that are required to actually type someone publicly, and use them privately when people actually come to me for help, to help them understand themselves. I'm happier when I have someone coming to me and saying, I'm an ESTP or I'm an ESFP, and they're actually an INTJ, for example, and they're persuaded that they are an ISFP or an ESFP, and or no, well, let's make another example, because anyway, this is anyway, let's say someone comes to me and says, I'm 100% sure that I'm an ISFJ, and I understand that instead they are an ESTJ, for example. I'm perfectly okay if this person understands that they listen to public opinion. I don't care if they come to the conclusion that they actually are an ESTJ. I'm going to probably point them in that direction. If they don't get there, I'm sorry for them, but that's not my goal. So it's not about actually naming the type. It's about getting to know yourself and actually knowing who you are. That's what matters. And the day that you figure out who you actually are, what your main characteristics are, and you truly have an answer to all the topics that are actually listed within typology, then you will see what your type is, and you won't have any problem self-typing yourself and seeing for what reasons you are that type, and in what ways your Enneagram disintegration brings you far from that. Well, the day that you can do that is actually the day that you're not disintegrated anymore, but anyway, that's another story. Anyway, yeah, this is my video about mistypes, and this is what I want to say about this topic. Do not trust people on forums or anywhere else telling you what type you are, because they know as much as you do, and they are not in a position to actually help you figure anything out, because they do not know you. They do not know you. Someone like me, with the instruments I have and the abilities I have and everything that I've studied in the past, I don't know, 17, 18 years or so about psychology, someone like me, then yeah, someone like me can understand you in matters of half an hour or maybe an hour. But anyone else, especially those that do not have the instruments, forget that they can help you. So this is everything I have about the topic, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.